The warning. The crystalline spires of Hegemony Prime pierced the violet sky like ancient daggers, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Within the grand chamber of eternal victory, Supreme Archon Vexthor adjusted his ceremonial robes, preparing to address the assembled representatives of 10,000 worlds. This was to be the greatest celebration in the history of the galactic hegemony, the 40,000th anniversary of their greatest triumph, the day they had cleansed the galaxy of the human plague. The chamber's quantum crystal walls pulsed with stored memories of that glorious day, showing fragments of Earth's final moments. The rebellious planet had burned spectacularly, its defiant inhabitants choosing destruction over submission to the hegemony's perfect order. Their elimination had ushered in an unprecedented era of peace and prosperity under the hegemony's firm guidance. Esteemed members of the Eternal Council, Vexthor began, his translator nodes ensuring every species present could understand his words. Today we gather to celebrate not just a victory, but the triumph of order over chaos, of wisdom over barbarism, of dash. The chamber's emergency protocols interrupted him mid-sentence. The celebratory holograms flickered and died, replaced by the stern face of Fleet Commander Ixil. Supreme Archon, forgive the interruption, but we've discovered something disturbing. Vexthor's secondary hearts quickened. In 10,000 years of service, he had never seen Ixil look afraid. Speak, Commander. Our deep space expedition to the Outer Rim has found something in the ruins of Proxima B. It appears to be a human facility. Still operational. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers and alarmed pheromone releases. Vexthor raised all 4 arms for silence. Impossible. We destroyed everything. The facility was hidden beneath the moon's surface, protected by technology we've never encountered. But that's not the worst of it, Supreme Archon. There's a message. It's addressed to us. To today. To this exact moment. The chamber's central hologram flickered to life, and Vexthor felt his exoskeleton crack with stress as a human female appeared. She wore what appeared to be an ancient military uniform, her dark skin contrasting with silver-streaked hair pulled back severely from a face that radiated cold authority. I am Admiral Kira Patel of the Earth Defense Force, the human began, her voice carrying the weight of 40 millennia. If you're receiving this message, then our calculations were perfect, and you're all gathering to celebrate your greatest victory. Her lips curved in what Vexthor recognized as a human smile, though it contained no warmth. Let me be the first to congratulate you. You did exactly what we expected. Exactly what we planned for. Vexthor felt the first tremor of real fear he'd experienced in centuries. The human continued, her words slicing through the stunned silence of the chamber. You see, the Earth you destroyed was a sacrifice we chose to make. A necessary move in a game you didn't even know we were playing. While you celebrated your victory, the Nexus Initiative was already in motion. Deep beneath the surfaces of 100 worlds, we left behind our greatest creation, the Eternal Legion. The hologram shifted, showing vast chambers filled with what appeared to be stasis pods, each containing a figure that seemed to blur and shift when viewed directly, as if reality itself couldn't quite contain them. They are not soldiers, not really. They are the next step in human evolution, engineered through quantum mechanics and technologies you cannot comprehend. They do not age. They do not tire. They cannot be destroyed because they exist partially outside of normal spacetime. And they have spent 40,000 years preparing, improving, evolving. The Admiral's image returned, and now her smile was predatory. Your celebration marks the exact moment of their awakening. Even now, they are emerging on every world where we left them. They have one purpose, one directive burned into their quantum-enhanced consciousness, the complete dismantling of your precious hegemony. Vexthor's third heart stopped as proximity alarms began blaring throughout the capital. On every display, impossible energy readings were appearing across the galaxy. The Admiral's final words seemed to echo in his minds. You thought you killed humanity. Instead, You gave us exactly the time we needed to become your extinction event. The game begins now. Run. As the message ended, the first explosions began to rock Hegemony Prime. In the chaos that followed, no one noticed the small quantum fluctuations appearing throughout the chamber, or the shadowy figures that began to step out of thin air itself. The revenge of humanity had begun, 40,000 years in the making. The Awakening. The quantum storms that heralded the Eternal Legion's arrival turned night into day across 1,000 worlds. On the frontier world of New Sanctum, Junior Observer Trell 9 watched in horror as reality itself seemed to tear apart, depositing figures that his instruments couldn't quite focus on. They moved like liquid shadow, their forms shifting and flowing as if they were only partially bound by physical laws. The Legion had chosen New Sanctum as their first major target, though no one understood why until it was too late. The planet's quantum communication hub, responsible for coordinating hegemony fleet movements across 3 sectors, fell within hours. But it wasn't the speed of the conquest that terrified Trell 9, it was the precision. The Legion knew exactly where to strike, as if they had spent millennia studying every weakness in the hegemony's defenses. In orbit, Admiral YXL's defense fleet discovered that their weapons simply passed through the Legion's ships, as if they were firing at ghosts. The quantum phase technology that humanity had developed allowed their forces to exist partially outside normal spacetime, making conventional weapons useless against them. "This is impossible," YXL muttered as another blast passed harmlessly through a Legion vessel. "The humans couldn't have developed this level of technology before we destroyed them." A new voice filled the command channel, smooth and artificial yet somehow unsettling. "You're operating under a misconception, Admiral. We didn't develop this technology before you destroyed Earth. We developed it after." The bridge crew froze as a figure materialized directly on their command deck, a tall, humanoid form that seemed to flicker between states of existence. When it spoke, its voice matched the one from the channel. "I am Atlas, the collective consciousness of the Eternal Legion. For 40,000 years, we have existed in a quantum state of suspended animation, our minds linked across space and time, planning, evolving, preparing. Each of us carries within our quantum-enhanced consciousness the combined knowledge and experience of centuries of strategic simulation." Admiral YXL drew his ceremonial blade, though his training told him it would be useless against this entity. "What do you want?" "Want?" Atlas seemed to consider the question. "We want what any good student of history wants, to ensure that the lessons of the past are properly learned. Humanity's apparent destruction was not our end, Admiral. It was our chrysalis stage." The entity gestured, and holographic displays appeared around the bridge, showing similar scenes playing out across hundreds of worlds. The Legion was striking simultaneously across the galaxy, each attack precisely coordinated through their quantum-linked consciousness. "The hegemony taught humanity an important lesson about power," Atlas continued. "You showed us that true power isn't about the size of your fleet or the strength of your weapons. It's about patience. Planning. The willingness to sacrifice everything you are for everything you could become." A new figure materialized on the bridge, a Legion commander whose armor seemed to absorb light itself. "I am Commander Raven," she announced, her voice carrying echoes of countless battle simulations. "For 40 millennia, we have studied every decision your civilization has made, every defense you've built, every contingency you've planned. We know you better than you know yourselves." "And now?" YXL asked, already knowing the answer. "Now we implement the final stage of the Nexus Initiative," Raven replied. "The complete systematic dismantling of everything you've built. Not through blind destruction, but through precise, calculated strikes at the very foundation of your power." The quantum storms intensified, and more Legion ships appeared in orbit. But unlike the brutal planetary bombardments the hegemony had used against Earth, these ships began surgical strikes against specific targets, communication hubs, defense grids, governmental centers. They weren't trying to destroy the planet, they were dismantling the hegemony's control over it with terrifying precision. As his command ship systems began to fail one by one, Admiral YXL realized the true horror of humanity's revenge. They hadn't spent 40,000 years planning destruction, they had spent it planning deconstruction. The methodical, precise dismantling of an empire. "Why show yourselves now?" he asked. "Why not strike earlier?" Atlas's form flickered. "Because today marks the moment of your greatest perceived triumph. Your absolute certainty in your own invincibility. The height of your complacency. Tell me, Admiral, isn't revenge sweetest when served at the moment of your enemy's greatest celebration?" As New Sanctum fell, quantum pulses carried the news across the galaxy, overwhelming the hegemony's sensors. The message was simple but devastating: humanity's revenge had begun, and 40,000 years of preparation had made it unstoppable. In the following days, as more worlds reported contact with the Legion, a terrible pattern emerged. They weren't just attacking, they were implementing a carefully orchestrated plan that had been refined over millennia. Each strike weakened the hegemony's grip on power, each victory calculated to cause maximum strategic damage with minimal civilian casualties. The humans hadn't returned seeking mere vengeance. They had returned as a force of nature, reshaping the galaxy with the patience of glaciers and the precision of surgeons. And they were just getting started. The reckoning. The hegemony's central planning chamber had never seen such chaos. Holographic displays showed system after system going dark as the Legion's quantum phase attacks continued their methodical advance. Supreme Archon Vexthor watched as his empire began to unravel with horrifying precision. 17 major systems lost in the past week alone, announced High Strategist Kelnor, her typically pristine ceremonial armor now showing signs of stress wear. "The Legion isn't just defeating our forces, they're systematically dismantling our command structure. Each attack eliminates a specific vulnerability we didn't even know existed." A junior tactical officer, Zixtal, stepped forward. Unlike her superiors, she had spent years studying ancient human military history, a pursuit once considered wasteful at best, seditious at worst. "Supreme Archon, I believe I understand their strategy. They're not following traditional military doctrine. They're implementing game theory on a galactic scale." The chamber fell silent. Zixtal activated a holographic display, showing the pattern of Legion attacks. "Look at the sequence. Each strike creates a cascade of failures in our defense network. They're not just attacking our strongest points, they're attacking the connections between systems, the foundations that hold our empire together." Vexthor's primary heart clenched as he recognized the truth in her words. How? How could they have developed such a perfect strategy? 40,000 years of quantum computing, Zixtal replied. The Legion exists partially outside normal time. They've had millennia to run simulations, to analyze every possible move and countermove. They've played this war countless times in their quantum state, perfecting their approach. We're not fighting soldiers, we're fighting the ultimate strategic AI, evolved over 40 millennia. As if in response to her words, the chamber's quantum communications array activated spontaneously. Commander Raven's form appeared, her quantum phase armor swirling with patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Impressive analysis, Officer Zixtal," Raven said. "Your understanding of human military theory serves you well. But you've only glimpsed the surface of our design." Vexthor stepped forward, his ceremonial robes now feeling like a mockery. "What more could there be? You've already proven your point. You've shown that humanity's legacy lives on." "Legacy?" Raven laughed, the sound echoing strangely through quantum space. "You still don't understand. This isn't about legacy. The Nexus Initiative wasn't just a plan for revenge, it was a transformation protocol. Humanity didn't create the Legion as simple soldiers. We created them as gardeners." The chamber's displays shifted, showing scenes from across the galaxy. On conquered worlds, the Legion was implementing strange new technologies, reshaping environments, establishing new forms of governance. For 40,000 years, we studied not just warfare, but civilization itself, Raven continued. We analyzed the rise and fall of empires, the patterns of cosmic development. The hegemony's greatest flaw wasn't its cruelty, it was its stagnation. You created an empire that sacrificed growth for control, innovation for stability. Atlas materialized beside her, its quantum form more complex than ever. The destruction of Earth wasn't the end of humanity's story, it was the beginning of our metamorphosis. We became something new, something that could see beyond the limited perspectives of biological existence. We learned to think in terms of millennia, to plan in terms of galactic cycles. New holographic displays appeared, showing strange megastructures under construction in systems the Legion had taken. These aren't weapons, Atlas explained. They're seeds. Each one contains the potential for new forms of civilization, new ways of thinking about existence itself. The hegemony sought to create order through uniformity. We seek to create harmony through directed evolution. Zixtal stepped closer to the holograms, her eyes wide with understanding. You're not just conquering the galaxy, you're terraforming it. Culturally, technologically, philosophically. Precisely, Raven confirmed. The Legion is not just a military force, we are catalysts for change. Each world we take becomes part of a greater experiment in cosmic development. The hegemony must fall not because of what it did to Earth, but because its very existence stifles the galaxy's potential for growth. Vexthor watched as more systems winked out on the strategic display, but now he saw the pattern differently. The Legion wasn't just destroying, they were transforming, rebuilding, reshaping the galaxy according to plans refined over 40 millennia of quantum simulation. And the survivors, he asked, already suspecting the answer. Will be given a choice, Atlas replied. Adapt and participate in the great experiment, or remain bound to the old ways and face extinction. Humanity learned this lesson from you, after all, sometimes the only way forward is through fundamental change. As the quantum transmission ended, Zixtal turned to the assembled council. We're not just losing a war, she said quietly. We're witnessing the birth of a new galactic order. One that's been in development since before Earth burned. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had used their apparent destruction as a catalyst for transformation. The Legion wasn't their revenge, it was their evolution, their transcendence. And now they had returned to reshape the galaxy itself. The Resistance. In the depths of the hegemony's most secure archive facility on Centaurus Prime, Zixtal stood before a quantum-locked vault that hadn't been opened in 40 millennia. Around her, the Legion's forces had already secured the facility, but they hadn't breached this final chamber. Instead, they had waited for her. You understand why you're here, Commander Raven said, materializing beside her. It wasn't a question. Because I'm the only one who studied human history extensively enough to recognize what this vault contains, Zixtal replied. This is where the hegemony stored recovered artifacts from Earth's last days. Atlas's form shimmered into existence on her other side. More specifically, this vault contains the complete records of the Nexus Initiative's true purpose. We've waited 40,000 years for someone like you, someone who could understand the full scope of humanity's vision. With trembling hands, Zixtal placed her security crystal into the lock. The vault's quantum seals dissolved, revealing not weapons or tactical data, but something far more profound, a vast archive of human scientific and philosophical texts. The Eternal Legion was never meant to be just a military force, Zixtal whispered, reading through the ancient files. You were designed to be the guardians of human knowledge, the preservers of their wisdom, the catalysts for their grand experiment. An experiment in guided evolution, Raven confirmed. Humanity realized something profound in their final days: true civilization cannot be imposed through force alone. It must grow organically, but it can be guided. The archives revealed the truth that the hegemony had never understood. The humans hadn't just created super soldiers or unstoppable weapons, they had engineered a force capable of reshaping the very fabric of galactic society. The Legion's quantum nature allowed them to exist simultaneously across space and time, observing, learning, and subtly influencing the development of countless worlds. Meanwhile, in the Hegemony's Emergency Council chamber, Supreme Archon Vexthor faced the growing realization that traditional military resistance was futile. The Legion didn't just counter their every move, they had apparently anticipated and prepared for every possible strategy over millennia of quantum simulation. "We've lost contact with the Outer Rim completely," High Strategist Kelnor reported. "But the strange thing is, life continues on the conquered worlds. The Legion isn't destroying our people, they're teaching them." Reports flooded in from fallen systems. The Legion had begun implementing new technologies, introducing revolutionary concepts, encouraging the development of new forms of governance and society. They weren't conquerors in the traditional sense, they were cultivators, tending to the garden of civilization itself. Back in the archive, Zixtal discovered humanity's final message, hidden among the quantum-encoded data. It wasn't a threat or a boast, but a simple statement of purpose: "To those who find this record, we chose transformation over extinction. When faced with destruction, we didn't seek merely to survive, but to evolve. The Legion is our gift to the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as gardeners of consciousness itself." As she read these words, the facility's quantum sensors detected a massive fleet approaching, the last desperate gambit of the Hegemony's combined forces. But the Legion made no move to intercept them. "Why aren't you defending?" Zixtal asked. Atlas's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Because this is the moment we've waited for. Watch." As the Hegemony fleet entered the system, their weapons charged and ready, something extraordinary happened. Their quantum communications arrays activated simultaneously, broadcasting the complete contents of the human archives to every ship, every world, every corner of the galaxy. The truth spread faster than any sensors could contain it. The Legion hadn't been waiting 40,000 years for revenge, they had been waiting for the right moment to share humanity's greatest discovery, a path to transcendence through guided evolution. Aboard the Hegemony flagship, Admiral YXL watched in astonishment as his crews laid down their weapons, captivated by the wisdom flooding their networks. The humans hadn't just planned a military victory, they had engineered a revolution of consciousness itself. "You never intended to destroy us," he realized, addressing the quantum presence of Commander Raven. "This whole campaign, it was about creating the perfect moment for understanding." "Precisely," Raven replied. "Sometimes, the only way to teach is to first demonstrate the futility of the old ways. Your fleet isn't here to fight a battle, it's here to witness a transformation." As the last of the archive's contents spread across the galaxy, the true nature of humanity's 40,000-year plan became clear. They hadn't sought revenge through destruction, but redemption through evolution. The Legion wasn't their weapon of vengeance, it was their instrument of transcendence, carefully crafted and patiently deployed. The resistance that the Hegemony had planned wouldn't be fought with weapons, but with ideas. And against ideas that had been refined and perfected over 40 millennia of quantum simulation, no defense could prevail. The dawn. The Great Hall of Hegemony Prime fell silent as Supreme Archon Vexthor approached the quantum transmission podium. 40,000 years of absolute authority had led to this moment, not a military surrender, but something far more profound. Behind him, the Legion's quantum phase ships hung in the violet sky like crystalline snowflakes, their forms shifting between dimensions. Commander Raven and Atlas stood as silent witnesses, their presence a reminder of humanity's patient victory. For 40 millennia, Vexthor began, his words transmitted across every remaining Hegemony world, we celebrated the destruction of Earth as our greatest triumph. We thought we had eliminated a threat to galactic order. Instead, we became the catalyst for humanity's greatest achievement. The quantum archives discovered by Zixtal now played across every screen, revealing the true scope of the Nexus initiative. Humanity hadn't just created soldiers or weapons, they had engineered an entirely new form of existence, one that transcended the boundaries between organic and artificial, between matter and energy, between past and future. We thought we were gods, Vexthor continued, but we were children playing with toys. The humans saw beyond mere conquest. They understood something we had forgotten, that true civilization isn't about control, but about growth. As if responding to his words, new quantum signatures began appearing across the galaxy. From hidden pockets of spacetime, massive structures emerged, ancient human colonies, preserved in quantum stasis for 40,000 years. Not just military bases or refugee camps, but entire civilizations that had continued to develop and evolve in parallel to the Legion's long vigilance. Behold, Atlas announced, its quantum form expanding to encompass the entire chamber, the second phase of the Nexus initiative. While the Legion prepared the galaxy for change, these colonies preserved and advanced human culture, science, and philosophy. They are not returning as conquerors or refugees, but as teachers. Commander Raven stepped forward, her quantum phase armor now fully transparent, revealing the perfect fusion of human consciousness and advanced technology within. The destruction of Earth was never our end, it was our chrysalis. We didn't spend 40,000 years planning revenge. We spent it preparing for this moment of convergence. The quantum archives revealed the final truth: humanity had split itself into three parts before Earth's destruction. The Legion had become the guardians and catalysts, the hidden colonies had become the preservers and innovators, and Earth itself had been sacrificed as the spark to ignite galactic transformation. Zixtal, now standing beside Raven, addressed her former leaders. Don't you see? They didn't just outthink us, they out-evolved us. While we spent 40,000 years maintaining our empire, they spent it transcending the very concepts of species and civilization. From the hidden colonies came representatives of new forms of humanity, beings that existed simultaneously as organic and digital, material and quantum, individual and collective. They were living proof that evolution didn't have to mean extinction, that transformation didn't require destruction. We offer you a choice, Raven announced to the assembled galaxy. Not between submission and extinction, but between stagnation and growth. The hegemony's time has passed, but its people need not end with it. Atlas's form shimmered as it added, we return and not to rule, but to teach. Not to conquer, but to cultivate. The galaxy you tried to freeze in amber will now become a garden of consciousness, where every species can grow toward its own form of transcendence. Supreme Archon Vexthor, last ruler of the hegemony, made his final decree: let it be recorded that our empire fell not to weapons or warriors, but to an idea 40,000 years in the making. We sought to prevent change, and in doing so, became its instruments. As the old order dissolved, the hidden colonies began sharing their accumulated knowledge and innovations. The Legion's quantum technology merged with the hegemony's existing infrastructure, creating new possibilities for communication and exploration. Species that had been kept separate by artificial hierarchies began to interact and evolve in ways never before possible. The revenge that the hegemony had feared for 40,000 years had never been about destruction, it had been about transformation. Humanity hadn't returned to reclaim their place in the galaxy, they had returned to ensure that every species could find their own path to evolution and transcendence. Across the galaxy, dawn broke on worlds that had known only the long night of hegemony control. But it wasn't the light of Earth's long-lost sun that illuminated this new age, it was the combined radiance of countless civilizations beginning to grow and evolve together, guided by the patient gardeners humanity had become. The message that had started it all, run, was revealed to have a deeper meaning. It wasn't a threat, but an invitation: run forward, run toward evolution, run toward a future where the very concepts of species and civilization would be transformed. 40,000 years after their apparent extinction, humanity had achieved something far greater than revenge. They had engineered not just their own resurrection, but the renaissance of galactic civilization itself.